Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So finally, the New Hampshire House map for the US House is finished. It is done. That means the redistricting process is all but over at this point. So we're going to have to analyze some recent developments, talk about the takeaways from this map and from this process and why maybe it wasn't as bad for Republicans as we originally thought, especially moving past 2022, as some states may even get to redraw their maps, like North Carolina, depending on the composition changes of the Supreme Court to their benefit. So that's good news. So we're going to get into this. And in terms of the changes as a whole, the old map was right here. The new map is right here. And basically, Republicans did not gain technically any seats, although they didn't lose any seats. However, some toss-up seats overall, mainly in the state of California and the state of Illinois, are going into the hands of the Democrats, or at least are becoming Dem-leaning seats altogether, which is interesting to take a look at. So you compare the maps, and not a whole lot ended up changing. Some states actually had more favorable maps for Republicans, whereas other states did not, which is interesting. You look at what Florida did. It's still technically in litigation, although it is very unlikely that the map will change. If anything, they might divvy up a Jacksonville district or something, but that's pretty much about it. Either way, even if you add one district to the Democrat column, it was still a fairly solid map overall and an upgrade over the old map, shoring up some swing or even lean blue districts into the Republican column, which you do absolutely love to see. And Arizona's another example. Republicans did fairly well in Arizona. They did fairly well, even you could say, in Ohio. Comparatively speaking, there was a whole court battle. They still have technically a court battle ongoing, but it seems like in this midterm, Democrats are only going to get 2 seats. And then they had the big wins out of New York. Definitely, that was a big win there with the court, as well as the fact that they might be getting an additional district in the state of Maryland. But you look at New York's new map. In fact, it's better than the old map. And Staten Island still has a Republican seat, and Long Island is a lot more favorable. And there still are some decently competitive districts upstate. So you do love to see it. So New York was one of the last other states to finalize as well. New Hampshire is the state that actually just finalized. They finally approved the map, and it seems as if both of these are going to be relatively toss-up districts, you could say. However, in a blue wave year, potentially 2026, if Trump takes the White House and there's some, left-wing energy backlash or whatever, it seems as if New Hampshire could have both seats flip back, but at the same time, you never know what's going to happen. Either way, the fact that there are 2 seats that are considered toss-ups is a good thing, in my opinion, because of the fact that this is going to be a red wave midterm and you're going to see Republicans end up gaining. But I will say that there was a lot of weakness from the GOP this cycle as well, and they don't necessarily get off the hook for it. You look at the state of Kentucky, you see the fact that they still have a district in Louisville. They could have probably gotten rid of it. They didn't. You look at what they did in the state of Missouri. This is another recent arrival map a couple weeks ago or so. They did not divvy up Kansas City the way that they possibly could have and gotten away with it, even with the current, in my opinion, unfair law regarding the VRA provision, which again only goes one way. You talk about states where whites are minorities like Nevada almost, or California, or New Mexico. It doesn't guarantee them a seat, which would probably lean Republican, but it will guarantee other minorities a seat in a deep red state, even though geographically might not always look the best, just like how the Florida map ended up turning out last time and what they're still trying to do to it this time. But either way, a lot of disappointment, weak Republicans, unwilling to take a stand, which is very sad. But Democrats arguably fumbled the ball more, even in their gerrymanders, which you could call dummy manders. Look at Illinois. All of these lean blue districts. Now you only have 1, 2, 3 red districts in Illinois left, but you also have a lot of D+7, sometimes D+10, D+7, D+4, you name it, districts that this year very well could flip, and some of them are actually trending to the right, just like the 17th district. So do keep this in mind moving forward as well. The fact is that their gerrymandering may very well come back to bite them in the rear end. But beyond that point, that's mainly it. But in terms of how are Republicans going to gain further, because this is another question people are going to be asking, because there was still a lot of disappointment. There were a lot of disappointing results. You could say, well, Democrats technically screwed up too. Look at Nevada. You could see a 4-0-R, especially with trends there. New Mexico, maybe they could pick off a seat or two. You know, it's not going to be all bad. It's very possible that if the national environment is R+8, you could see an unprecedented seat gain, which would be pretty epic. But you look at a state like North Carolina, and you look at what the courts did there, and even what the courts did in the state of Ohio. And it's like, how exactly are you going to mitigate this in the future? Because Republicans could have had 3 more seats in North Carolina potentially or so, but it didn't exactly work out that way. Well, the good news is the Supreme Court elections are up this cycle for North Carolina. There were some polls that I saw that had Republicans defeating the Dem incumbents by like 7 points or so. So that's the white pill. That's the good news, is that even if this map is not the best out of North Carolina, it is temporary. And if there is a new map that gets redrawn after the midterms, you could talk about, some of those dummy Mander seats maybe coming back if the national environment comes back a little bit. And you could cancel out the gains that the Democrats are making by picking up more in a place like the state of North Carolina, which is very true and which would help out, by the way, I will say. So that's good. So it seems as if Republicans have the trajectory regarding redistricting until the end of the decade because of that, because of how important that these midterms are. So do keep that in mind as well. But either way, you look at this map here and you see the results here, and it is a complete and total mixed bag. It absolutely is. And I think Indiana is a prime example of it. But like I said, depending on the national environment, it is very possible that Indiana's 1st district could actually flip back, which is true. You have to take everything into consideration. It really comes down to a lot of factors here. Litigation. Some states are still in litigation, like I said, but it is very unlikely that the results are completely overturned. I will say that. Taking everything into consideration, it seems as if the map right now is going to be the map that stands, especially because the Florida Supreme Court, for example, has been fairly solid. The Texas Supreme Court is likely to uphold it, as well as the fact that you look at a state like Ohio, it is also very likely that the clock has been run out, so to speak, even though the weak Republicans there have really held back Republicans during this redistricting process. They've wasted time, energy, money, resources, made pretty much everything a lot more complicated than it needed to be in the process as well. But that's really about it for this map. I will say I'm going to be doing a House prediction sometime next month. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a Senate prediction or a governor's prediction, mainly because of the fact that I've been doing them every month and not that much has been changed. I don't know. I'll probably drop one in July, at the start of July. But it seems as if the House, we'll talk about the House a little bit more this month as well. The primaries are still ongoing, although a lot of the high-profile primaries don't actually take place until August. You have Michigan and Arizona. Those are going to be 2 big ones on August 2nd. You have a big Senate primary that is going to be taking place in Arizona. You also have the governor's primary there. Kari Lake is expected to do very well. And then you have the whole Michigan fiasco that happened with the disqualifications, which we talked about in the last video. Could that come back to bite Democrats in the rear end? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It's still an ongoing process there. But furthermore, you have several primaries that do matter. You have Fred Upton's primary, which I anticipate will go the way that David McKinley's in West Virginia did, or how Rodney Davis's in Illinois is going to go when Mary Miller defeats him. And then there's also the weirdo leprechaun Peter Myers seat. Could he actually lose his seat? Could he be primaried out by John Gibbs, who in my opinion is a solid candidate? That's going to be a little bit more of an uphill climb, but Peter Myers' approval rating in the district has dipped significantly from when he was nominated back in 2020, and certain polling does have him down. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, can't trust primary polling this cycle, more so than others. I mean, they keep getting worse. I mean, they weren't that bad in Alabama, but in Georgia, that was a train wreck. In Pennsylvania, that was a train wreck. At least for the Senate race, the governor's race was actually not that bad, or not that off, I should say, in terms of the polling. But either way, that's pretty much it for redistricting. But either way, Republicans are likely to take back the House because they didn't drop the ball completely like they could have. So I will say that. And they started to pick it up towards the end, and will likely pick it up in North Carolina after the Supreme Court flips this November. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And check out the website and merch store. The links are in the pinned comment. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.